This is Royal Daily Report. Please subscribe to our channel for the latest royal family news. Get ready for the wildest royal family drama ever. This is absolutely insane. Forget everything you heard about Meghan and Harry leaving the royal family. What's happening now could be way, way bigger. This could actually break the whole royal system. It's all about Harry and Meghan and a lady called DL, who is making some crazy claims about how Archie and Lilibet were born. So here's what DL is saying. She claims she is the real biological mother of both children. Not just a woman who carried the babies, but the actual genetic mother. The kids have her DNA. And get this, she says she has real proof. We're not talking about random internet pictures here. She claims to have actual legal documents, hospital paperwork, or bank records showing money transfers, emails from Harry's people, the whole package. She says Harry and Meghan promised to keep her quiet and pay her off. But after the babies were born, they ghosted her completely. They just erased her like she never even existed. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This sounds like another wild conspiracy theory, right? But here's the crazy part. This woman, DL, isn't just some random internet troll. She appears to have actual proof, and the palace is totally silent about it. You would think they'd be denying this like crazy, but nope. They're just quiet. And that silence? That's never good news. According to DL, someone reached out to her way back in 2018. It was through some sketchy third-party person who was connected to an expensive fertility clinic that celebrities use. She signed non-disclosure agreements, papers that say you can't talk about something. Deals were made, and the plan was simple. She would have the babies, then disappear forever. But here's what actually happened. Instead of being thanked and getting her final payment, they just cut her off. No last payment, no follow-up after the births. Absolutely nothing. At the same time, Meghan was walking around in expensive maternity dresses, showing off a pregnant belly that a lot of people think looked totally fake in some videos. Remember those old videos where people said her baby bump looked strange? Well, those videos are back now, and people are studying them like detectives trying to solve a murder case. Let's think back to when Archie was born. There was no normal royal photo on the hospital steps like there usually is, or no birth certificate was released right away. Just a basic announcement. Then we got a staged photo with Harry holding the baby and Meghan looking fresh like she just left a spa, not a delivery room. The press didn't ask questions back then because everyone thought they just wanted privacy. But DL says that whole privacy thing was just a trick to hide the truth. According to her, Archie was actually born 2 weeks before they announced it, and everything was planned out super carefully. Now here's where things get really, really scandalous. DL claims her name doesn't appear on any legal paperwork, not even the hospital discharge papers. She says they told her it was super important to keep everything clean and simple for the royal family. Meghan, based on what DL is saying, didn't want any evidence of a surrogate anywhere, because if people found out the kids weren't born from her own body, it could mess up the whole line of succession. That's the order of who gets to be king or queen. And this right here is the real bomb. If Archie and Lilibet were not born from Meghan's body, and if there was no official announcement about using a surrogate, they could technically lose their royal titles and positions. We're talking about something that could shake the entire royal system to its core. Royal family rules are super strict about birth and bloodlines. You can't just fake your way into the Windsor family tree. It doesn't matter how rich or famous you are. Either you followed the rules, or you broke them. Remember when Meghan's name mysteriously got removed from Archie's birth certificate? At the time, those people just thought it was some kind of clerical error or typo. But now, insiders think it might have been part of a much bigger plan to cover up the real truth about how he was born. It wasn't just DL who got erased from the story. Even Meghan's own identity got played down and hidden. So what about Harry? Where does he fit into all this? Well, apparently he's freaking out big time. Sources close to him say he's barely sleeping, barely talking to anyone, and he's constantly scrolling through social media. He knows this whole thing is about to explode. And here's something weird. He actually kind of hinted at this in his book called Spare. When he talks about Archie and Lilibet being born, he uses really vague, poetic language. There are no specific details about labor, no hospital stories, just general statements about becoming a dad. But now people are going back and reading those parts again, wondering if he was protecting Meghan's privacy or if he was protecting a massive lie. Meanwhile, Meghan has completely vanished from public view. 0 public appearances, no official statements, not even subtle Instagram posts. She's in total hiding mode. And Hollywood has definitely noticed. That silence that used to look like clever media strategy now just looks like someone running away and hiding. Movie and TV producers are pulling back from working with her. Big-name celebrities are suddenly busy and unavailable. Nobody wants to be anywhere near a royal scandal this massive. And what about the palace? They're silent too. But it's not strategic silence. They're in shock. If what DL is claiming turns out to be true, the royal family is looking at a public relations disaster bigger than anything they've ever faced. We're talking about a potential massive lie sitting right at the heart of the Sussex family story. And all those speeches Harry and Meghan gave about being authentic and truthful, those would suddenly look incredibly hollow and fake. DL says she never wanted any of this drama. She just wanted some closure and the money she was promised. But the feeling of betrayal, of being completely erased from the story, that's what finally pushed her to come forward and speak out. She's ready to burn every bridge necessary just to be seen and acknowledged. And she says she's coming with hard evidence. If she's actually telling the truth, it won't just be Harry and Meghan who have to answer tough questions. Lawyers will get involved. But royal advisors will have to explain themselves. Media allies might face scrutiny. Maybe even Parliament will have to step in. So here's the huge question everyone keeps asking. Why would they lie about this in the first place? Using a surrogate to have a baby isn't illegal. Kim Kardashian used a surrogate. So did Nicole Kidman. Nobody cared or judged them. So why all this fakery and pretending? Well, some royal experts and biographers say it's all about image and branding. The whole Sussex brand was built on this concept of being modern royalty, right? Mixing old royal traditions with being vulnerable and open. Mixing high status with fighting for social justice causes. But using a surrogate, especially keeping one secret in Colorado, would have completely destroyed that carefully crafted image. It would have made Meghan look like she wasn't truly part of the royal family, like she was outsourcing even the most fundamental royal duty there is, having an heir. And let's be completely honest here. Meghan has always been obsessed with controlling how people see her and her story. Remember all those professional baby bump photo shoots? Those beautiful maternity portraits covered in flowers? That Oprah interview where she cried while talking about being a mother? If DL is actually telling the truth, all of that was just one big, carefully scripted performance. It wasn't about privacy or protecting her family. It was pure public relations strategy. And the internet? It's absolutely losing its mind. TikTok detectives are digging up old TV interviews and finding all these suspicious videos of Meghan's pregnant belly apparently moving in weird ways, shrinking, or even disappearing in certain shots. That infamous video clip where she stands up and her belly appears to fold inward like closing a laptop. Yeah, that's back and spreading everywhere. Even mainstream news outlets are now saying, maybe it deserves another look. Also, think about how they skipped every single traditional royal protocol and custom. No photo opportunity at the Lindo wing of the hospital where royals traditionally show their newborns. No official royal birth announcement signed by doctors. No framed formal notice posted outside Buckingham Palace. Back then, they said they were just being modern parents who valued privacy. Now it's looking a lot more like they were strategically leaving things out to hide something. And then we have Harry. For the longest time, people cut him slack and felt sorry for him. The poor guy lost his mother at a young age, served his country in the military, got trapped in a toxic royal institution. He was the spare heir who just wanted a better life. But if he actually knew about this whole pregnancy deception, he's not a victim anymore. He's an accomplice. He becomes the smiling partner in a show that should be called How to Fake Your Way into Royal History. And this is exactly where things become super problematic for the palace. If Archie and Lilibet aren't biologically Meghan's children, they might not legally qualify to be in the line of succession. Not because they're not loved or wanted, but because the monarchy has strict rules requiring bloodlines to be verifiable and documented. You can't just quietly mention it in tabloid magazines or casually introduce royal children through a Netflix documentary. There are even rumors floating around Parliament about this situation. Could the crown actually strip the children of their titles? Could they be completely removed from the line of succession? Would that require a formal act of Parliament to make it official? Constitutional lawyers and legal experts are working day and night trying to figure out exactly how deep and complicated this legal rabbit hole goes. In the meantime, Meghan is absolutely nowhere to be found, and that deafening silence speaks volumes. This is a woman who used to fire off strongly worded open letters about every little thing that bothered her. Now suddenly she's completely mute, while this absolute firestorm builds all around her. Some observers say she's staying silent because her legal team advised her to keep quiet. Other people think she's just sitting back and waiting to see exactly how bad things get before she decides on her next strategic move. But whatever she eventually does, it better be really good and convincing. The public isn't as forgiving and trusting as they used to be. The fairy tale romance story is completely over. Even her most loyal fans and supporters are starting to ask some really tough questions. Like, seriously, why would anyone fake an entire pregnancy in the first place? What kind of message does that send about motherhood and female empowerment and women's rights? And then we have DL herself. Some people are saying she's just doing all this for fame and attention. Other people are calling her brave for speaking up. But one thing is absolutely certain. She has placed herself directly at the center of what might be the biggest royal scandal in decades. In some emails that got leaked, she wrote these words, "They erased me. I gave them everything, and they completely erased me." Those are the words of someone who feels totally used and then tossed aside like garbage. And if her documents actually back up everything she's claiming, she could blow this entire situation wide open. Of course, the public relations spin machines are already firing up and getting to work. Sources who are close to Meghan are already saying that DL is delusional and mentally unstable, that she's trying to extort and blackmail them, and that all her documents are completely fabricated and fake. But simple denials aren't going to be enough this time. If DL actually goes public with real hard evidence, especially photographs taken from inside the actual delivery room, this whole thing transforms instantly from rumor and gossip to documented reality. And at that point, the palace will be forced to get officially involved, whether they want to or not. And check this out. International media outlets around the world are already jumping all over this story. French and German tabloid magazines are running massive headlines like Meghan's maternity mystery and the Duchess and the secret surrogate. Even Australian morning television shows are discussing the real possibility that these royal babies were born under a complete veil of lies and deception. Or then a former royal staff member and assistant dropped this really cryptic bombshell statement saying there's an actual reason why no one in the royal family ever specifically referred to Meghan as a mother during any official public remarks. Fact-checking journalists went back through the records and carefully examined all the transcripts. Prince Charles's official speech when Archie was born. There's no mention whatsoever of Meghan actually giving birth. The Queen's annual holiday address to the nation? Warm general greetings to the family, sure, but never once the specific words, Meghan as a mother. Is that just the royal family being typically cold and distant? Or was it deliberately calculated distance? The entire Sussex narrative and story is now under an incredibly powerful microscope. Their documentary series on Netflix, or their various interviews with the media, their book publishing deals, everything is now being re-examined and re-evaluated with deep suspicion and doubt. People are willing to forgive many things. But lying about your own children? Lying about motherhood itself? That's a completely different and much more serious level of deception. DL is now dropping hints about holding an actual press conference. If that actually happens, and she sits down for her own Oprah-style tell-all interview, absolutely everything changes in an instant. We could be looking at legal depositions given under oath, royal titles being officially revoked and stripped away, and a full-scale comprehensive royal investigation and review. And Harry? Reports say he's absolutely broken and devastated. As a close friend said, he keeps repeating, "I just wanted to protect my family. I never thought it would go this far." But guess what? It has gone exactly this far. And now the entire world is demanding real answers. All right, so if this whole situation were a Hollywood movie, we'd be at the third and final act right now. You know, that moment where the shiny, perfect surface violently crashes into the hard brick wall of reality. Except this isn't some Netflix series that can just be edited and changed. This is actual real life we're talking about. Royal bloodlines, serious legal frameworks and systems, and an entire nation's trust are all on the line here. These people can't just magically disappear behind some carefully worded PR statement and a pretty Christmas card. But here's the real kicker that makes this even more serious. Some legal expert who is close to DL's legal team is now saying that Harry and Meghan could potentially be facing serious international legal problems if it turns out they actually faked official documents across multiple country borders. Yeah, we're talking about potential issues with the UK Home Office, the California Department of Public Health, and even immigration-related paperwork that's connected to Archie and Lilibet's official status as royal children who were born in a foreign country. Don't forget this important detail. Lilibet was not born on British soil at all. She was born in California, in the United States. And that birth was officially registered with basically zero public transparency or proof shown to anyone. No hospital media access allowed. No public verification process. But just a name on paper and a birth certificate that eventually showed both parents' names, with Meghan's full legal name listed as Rachel Meghan Markle. Now, if DL can actually prove her claims in court, those official birth records could be legally challenged and questioned. And the news headlines? They're going absolutely insane. Media outlets are already calling this the royal surrogate scandal. Twitter is completely blowing up with detailed timelines. Reddit has amateur investigators carefully piecing together absolutely everything, from analyzing Meghan's specific maternity dresses to figuring out exactly who entered the VIP maternity wing at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and on exactly what dates. Royal family discussion forums that used to be split between Sussex supporters and Sussex critics are now just complete war zones, filled with receipts, blurry photographic evidence, and creepy side-by-side photo comparisons of Archie's baby pictures next to photos of DL's other biological children. Even American late-night comedy shows that used to be totally supportive of the Sussexes, are now starting to openly mock and make fun of them. One popular comedian made this joke. Well, I guess Meghan really did manage to manifest a completely new kind of motherhood, totally invisible labor. The studio audience went absolutely wild with laughter, but the underlying message was crystal clear. Their credibility and trustworthiness are completely tanking and crashing. These Netflix executives are supposedly in complete full-blown panic mode right now. The Sussex production deal, which originally seemed like an absolute guaranteed win for the company, now comes loaded with a massive mountain of baggage and problems. If DL's claims turn out to be legitimate and real, how much longer before all those documentaries and podcasts that were built entirely on this authentic family image get completely pulled from platforms? If they deliberately and intentionally buried and hid the whole surrogate situation, doesn't that make those programs basically propaganda and misinformation? One media industry analyst put it absolutely perfectly when they said, "This isn't just a regular scandal. This is a reputational implosion happening in slow motion right before our eyes." But the Sussex team definitely isn't planning to go down without putting up a serious fight. Word on the street is that Meghan is now considering doing her own carefully planned sit-down interview, but probably not with traditional mainstream media outlets. Instead, think YouTube or maybe a Spotify podcast revival. Basically, somewhere she can maintain complete control over the narrative, cry on camera if she feels she needs to, and frame this entire situation as a vicious personal attack against her and her family. One insider source hinted that she'll probably claim the whole surrogate situation was an extremely deeply personal choice that was made under intense pressure, and that they wanted to protect everyone's mental health and well-being by keeping it completely private and secret. But here's the real question. Will people actually buy that explanation this time around? That's literally the million-dollar question. The world isn't as easily fooled and manipulated anymore. People have already seen all the documentaries. They've read all the books. They've heard the victim narrative literally a million times before. But this situation is fundamentally different. This isn't about aggressive paparazzi photographers or outdated royal protocol and traditions. This is about basic truth and honesty. This is about babies and real human lives. This is about the sacred concept of motherhood itself. And if that fundamental truth was deliberately faked and manipulated just to fit a more appealing narrative and story, even Meghan's most dedicated and biggest fans are genuinely starting to have serious doubts. And please don't forget about the actual royal family and monarchy itself. Officially and publicly, they're staying completely silent. But behind closed doors and behind the scenes, it's total chaos and panic. Insiders and sources say that King Charles is absolutely furious and enraged. And it's not just because of the embarrassing headlines, it's because of what this whole situation represents and means for the crown and the institution itself. If Meghan and Harry actually faked royal births and lied about royal heirs, it makes the entire concept and idea of the royal family seem cheap, tawdry, and meaningless. It transforms the firm, as they call themselves, into just another celebrity brand that can be twisted, manipulated, and rebranded at will, like it's just a luxury designer handbag. There's even serious talk and discussion that Charles might quietly attempt to temporarily suspend or pause the children's royal titles until this entire messy situation gets properly sorted out through legal channels. It would be completely unprecedented in modern royal history and extremely risky from a PR perspective. But it honestly might be the only realistic way to protect the crown's public image and reputation while everything eventually blows over and settles down. Some of his senior advisors are even actively pushing for launching a formal official investigation. Although absolutely nobody genuinely thinks the monarchy institution could actually survive the terrible public optics of publicly dissecting and examining royal birth records in such detail. And get this latest development. Even the British Parliament is now getting actively involved in this situation. Members of Parliament are receiving phone calls from concerned citizens who are demanding clear answers. Why exactly weren't these royal births properly verified and documented according to standard procedures? Who specifically signed off and approved the children's official royal status without requiring full disclosure of all relevant information? Did they potentially use British taxpayer money under completely false pretenses and fraudulent circumstances? What originally started as simple royal family gossip and tabloid drama is now rapidly transforming into serious matters of public policy and governance. One member of Parliament gave this statement to the Times newspaper. If the Crown was genuinely deceived and lied to, then by extension so were we as representatives of the people. And if the ancient laws of succession were deliberately sidestepped and avoided simply to protect a carefully crafted public image, then we absolutely need comprehensive legal reform and changes, not continued silence and stonewalling. DL's legal team is supposedly actively getting ready to release an official public statement accompanied by a substantial collection of supporting documents. And this could happen possibly as early as next week. If that document release ends up including actual photographs, for email correspondence, or official fertility clinic records that confirm and verify the births and the financial payments that were made, the internet is literally going to explode with activity and chaos. And the carefully constructed Sussex legacy and reputation will explode right along with it. Because when you really think about it, in the end, this isn't just simply about these two children and their lives. It's fundamentally about the actual truth that completely surrounds them. It's about the calculated branding and marketing. It's about the deliberate manipulation of public perception. It's about the elaborate stage performance and theater. Meghan successfully built an entire empire and brand based on being vulnerable, raw, authentic, honest, and tragically misunderstood by cruel forces. But if DL's version of events turns out to be the actual truth, then that entire empire wasn't just built on somewhat shaky ground. It was literally built on someone else's womb and someone else's biological children. And Harry? He's now going to be forced to make an incredibly difficult choice. Does he stand by Meghan no matter what and defend her? Or does he finally come completely clean and tell the whole truth? There are already rumors circulating that he's starting to distance himself from the situation. Reports say he's spending much more time alone by himself, more time physically back in the UK, more time reconnecting with his old childhood friends from before Meghan. Could this potentially be his final breaking point? Or will he instead choose to double down completely and defend the lie aggressively all the way to the very bitter end? The entire world is watching this unfold in real time. We have officially entered a completely new chapter in the ongoing Sussex saga and story. And no amount of podcast deals or lifestyle brand launches is going to fix or repair this massive damage. Once regular people genuinely feel like they've been deliberately lied to and manipulated, that trust is gone forever. It's destroyed. And even if the real truth eventually comes out late in the game, it still hits incredibly hard and leaves perma